I mean, think about in my case, car repair and all those kind of, I think there's last count, 10 trillion, 582 billion, 400 gazillion, 80 testapillion videos about car repair. By the way, those who didn't get Ramon's humor, I made all those numbers up, but about car repair. So there are tons of videos on how to change your own tires and brake pads and all kind of words I don't know. I watch those videos from time to time. Do I do that stuff myself? No. Could I learn it? Probably. Give it to an expert. So in the same way, those of you who are thinking, Ramon, people won't buy from me. Those who won't buy from you because you showed them how to do it, most of them won't buy from you anyhow. They won't anyhow. So understand that. So the more you share, you're building a community, you're building a tribe, you're building your trust, and people will buy from you.
Hey, it's Rocky. Welcome to Richer Soul. Today's guest is Ramon Ray, who's going to chat about how to think bigger. Imagine it's 12 months from now, and you've achieved your major life goals. How does it feel to be in the best shape of your life? To wake up energized, excited about the day? To have great relationships and friends who support you and propel you forward? How does it feel to have an excess of money, to be able to make the choices you want? To be fearless and open to trying new adventures? Imagine being connected to the universe and it providing everything you desire. It's possible over time, and your past does not dictate your future. The only thing holding you back from this vision is you. It's time to take control of our thoughts and use them to our advantage. Welcome to Richer Soul, where we achieve our dreams and create harmony to health, wealth, relationships, time, and spirituality. If you have not had a chance to listen to episodes 1 through 9, I encourage you to go back and listen to the framework behind Richer Soul and how to create the life of your dreams. You can also find all the show notes for this episode at richersoul.com. Today's quote comes from Tolstoy. Everybody thinks of changing humanity, and nobody thinks about changing himself. Isn't that ironic? The reality is you can't change humanity until you change yourself. When you do, you also stop trying to change everything and accept that it is. It's taken me a long time to figure that one out, to accept it, and to just do that, although I still screw up. What about you? Before we continue, let's get to last week's action step, which was to take 10 minutes a day for the next 90 days to learn about finances. As I said before, I am always focused on this because I'm always looking at my finances and running them as if it was a small business. I always want to improve, look at my targets, see how I'm doing, and constantly adjust. I've been doing this for over 30 years and it works. The reality is money isn't that hard when you figure it out. Have you been checking on the bonus episodes we have each week? You get to hear more money stories and how people are living a richer soul life. It's pretty inspiring. Let's face it, you are the CEO of your life. So when you listen today, keep that in the back of your mind. As I said, I've always run my personal life like it's a business. Today, we're going to talk about thinking big. Listen in as you hear some of our guest's adventures. He's done some cool things. And the question is, what is it that you want to do? Our guest is going to share with you some of the ways that you can make it happen in your life too. And some of the action steps you can take. They're not that hard. It's amazing what happens over time when you put a little bit of effort into it. Our guest is Ramon Ray. He is an in-demand expert on small business success and founder of smarthustle.com. He started 4 companies and sold 2 of them and is a 4-time author. His latest book is Celebrity CEO. It's all about personal branding. He's a global keynote speaker, event host and emcee, entrepreneur, and best-selling author. He inspires and educates thousands of business owners a year and works with leading brands to help them reach small business. Let's meet Ramon and learn from him. Welcome to Richer Soul, Ramon Ray. It's great to have you join us today.
Thanks for having me here, man. It's always good to be here and talking to smart people like Rocky. Thanks.
And I'm excited to learn from you as well today. Let's start at the beginning. What was it like when you were growing up, and how much did your family and school teach you about money?
From what I remember, nothing, but not in a bad way. Every culture, every people's different. So I don't recall much proactively, except you learn it in school, I guess, count it and all that. But I think my real money learning was actually learning the book that's to your right shoulder as I look at this as we are in video here, Profit First, Mike McAllowitz. So I think that was really, and that's to my sadness, only a few years ago, learning really the aspect of saving, putting money in buckets and things like that. So that, growing up, not so much. But again, if my mom or dad are here, they'd be like, boy, we taught you this. But I just don't, not a major impactful thing. But definitely my parents are hardworking people who love me and provided for us for sure. But just not that. Let me sit you down and teach you this like we do. Like my wife, especially, give her credit, had done with our kids. And then growing up, good life, born in the Midwest and grew up in the New York area. And now I live in the vacation capital of the world, New Jersey.
I grew up in Jersey. I don't know. I call it the vacation capital of the world.
People like that when I say that.
Not far from where you are. I say I escaped from New Jersey. I ran away.
Got it.
So what are you doing then to teach your kids about money?
Yeah, I think three things probably is that one, just really the purposeful discussion about earn more. That's one thing we talk about. My two children are adults, but just to talk about, their different their different brains, how they work, my daughter and my son, but just encouraging my daughter, hey, for example, you're a teacher. Teachers don't make a high amount of salary depending where you're at. Morgan Freeman, I think, was known, what if we paid our politicians less and paid our teachers more? Would we have smarter kids? Something like that he's known to say. So just the aspect of, hey, try to earn as much as you can. My daughter is very entrepreneurial, so is my son, but they're doing two different types of things. And so she's a full-time teacher, but she has a few side hustles. She does tutoring on the side. So I think that's one thing I'm very happy. I think the second thing really is saving, Rocky. That's one thing I wish I would have done much younger, much earlier, as it were, in my career, is just saving money, putting money into accounts and things like that. I just didn't do it due to whatever reason. And so I think that's the real thing that I've driven home with them, whether it's a Betterment account or Robinhood, whatever account you want. It doesn't matter really, but just that automatic of putting money aside, because then, as you probably know, Rocky, better than me, this is what you do. A year, 2, 3, 10, 20 years later, you open up your accounts and you got 10,000, 5,000, 100,000, whatever the number may be in it. And that's a good thing. So that's kind of what we try to convey is just to save your money, put it aside, have a rainy day fund, things of that nature.
And, building wealth isn't all that difficult. You gave us the keys, right? Increase your income, cut your spending, and take that excess and put it away and don't touch it. And then let it work and grow. And that's literally all there is to it. And yet that 30-second class seems to get missed too often.
Well, because we want the marshmallows, the famous video that the psychologist had the kid, if you wait, we'll give you more. If you don't wait, whatever, you get what maybe you understand the one I'm talking about.
I remember the study, yes.
Yeah, so, that's what it is.
And part of the study, they did follow-up studies, and there's all kinds of conflict around it, but they said that the kids who could wait had delayed gratification, and they did better in all other parts of life. Whether or not that's exactly true or not, I don't know. But yeah, that's it. It's delayed gratification. And I think part of that is just, it's not that you can't have anything. I think too often, right, for the kid, it was marshmallow, no marshmallow. But in life, there are choices. It's like, do you even like marshmallows? If you don't like them, don't buy them. Go buy what you like.
That's a good point.
Spend there and save on what you don't enjoy and let it go. So what was so eye-opening about the Profit First book?
Yeah, I think the eye-opening thing was just that I was tired of having to pay a big IRS bill every year, tired of going into my credit cards to pay my taxes, things of that. And I guess I was just tired of it. That's probably what it was, just tired of, the person who's not at the health they want to be, not whatever in life we want to be personally. You look in the mirror or whatever happens and you get hit upside the head and you're like, you know what? Enough of this crap. I'm going to do X, Y, Z. So I think that's why I knew there had to be a better way. And finally, I guess I was at the pain threshold enough where I'm like, this is too much. I'm tired of having a tax bill of $40 million, out of the $10 billion that I earn per year. ha, ha, ha. But I'm tired of that. And so I think that was the catalyst, Rocky, really. Just put, and I said, let me do this, and I automate it. And because I think going back to the delayed gratification, and you can unpack this more than me, you're money guys, that it's like some people have the discipline to do it themselves. I just don't. If I see $20,000 in the bank account, I can buy some shirts from Charles Tyrwhitt or buy a new video camera. But if it's taken out first, and then the money's in there, as it were, it's just easier. So is that helpful? I think I was at the right time, the right place, if that makes sense.
It is. And that's why 401ks work, because before you even get your paycheck, the money's gone. And there are many places that will just suck money out of your bank account automatically for you and put it away for you. And it works the same concept. So, yeah, we're a big fan of automating your savings so that you don't have to think about it, because life gets busy. You go through ups and downs, then COVID happens. And, if your money's automated, no matter what's going on, it's continuing to do what it should do for you.
Right. All day.
So you've got a long, interesting journey, and you've done a lot of cool things. I'd love to hear, which one of these cool things is the one that you've loved the most?
That's an interesting question. I don't know if I have a one favorite, but I'll say a few of the cool things. I think even though I was fired from the United Nations, that was probably one of the most exhilarating experiences, being able to be with heads of state once a year at the United Nations General Assembly. That's just cool. Having, imagine anybody who has backstage access to any celebrity or actor. They weren't celebrity or actors. Well, they were actors. Well, they were celebrities, but meaning the politicians I'm getting at. To be able to see, I was there when President Obama was there, I think, as I recall, and Bush and Clinton. So at one time, I think I was let go. I was fired from the UN at the beginning of Obama's term. The dates are fuzzy for me, but the point is, seeing the president of the U.S. right in front of you. I did interview him, by the way, too, but not then, but separate issue. But the point is that access. Hamid Karzai, those may remember, of Afghanistan, seeing him coming down an escalator. I was with, I forgot the gentleman's name, but the president of Syria, Ahmadinejad, that guy. So these names are names we read and watching CNN and Fox and newspapers. To be able to be face to face with that guy, that's just pretty cool. Come on. Oh, seeing the Pope. I'm close. Come on. I mean, people go to the big area in front of the Vatican, wherever that place, the St. Peter's Basilica, whatever. I don't know these names, but the point is being able to be in a room where you could spit on them. I didn't spit on him, by the way. That's pretty cool. So I think that was one cool thing. And I do love whatever it is. And for me, military stuff. So graduate of the FBI Citizens Academy, that's a cool resume builder. But I think I'll stop there. I've done a lot of cool things that I think have been feathers in my cap. Looks great on resume. I didn't do it because of that, but meaning it's helped to build the brand Ramon Ray. But yeah, I've been blessed to do some cool things. Being in India with Ivanka Trump, I think being with her wasn't such the special thing, but just being in India and being able to say, hey, Ivanka Trump was at a big entrepreneurship summit and Ramon was on the U.S. delegation. Yeah, I'm pretty proud of that.
Those are some very cool things. I've had similar experiences, but slightly different. I was sitting out in the crowd at the Vatican, so I couldn't spit at him. I had to see a distance. Yeah. And I've been to India, but I went on my own dime. Many a times, but that's okay. So what is this FBI Academy thing that you were part of?
Yeah, I can't tell you right now. Through your door, agents are going to come in and really take and drag you right out of the chair. People can watch the video as I reveal it to you, and then they take their guns out and say, Rocky, we're going to pull you up out of your. It was an ambassador program. So imagine, like a 10-week course, as it were, a mastermind, as it were, where every week you go to 26 Federal Plaza, FBI offices, and have briefings from some of the top people like, hey, see this picture 20 years ago, 15 years ago? See that? That's anthrax. If you see me, you're dead. Or, hi, my name is Melissa. See this guy in handcuffs? Oh, yeah. I brought him down, the Gavino guy or whatever the names of these people. So it was really honorable to get that close to agents who've done some pretty cool things, see how they work, shoot some weapons and things like that. So, but basically it was an ambassador program where they wanted to get various members of the community, however they define community, together, cross-section of people, business leaders, nonprofit leaders, who knows, cross-section of people, and just say, hey, we're the FBI. We're going to open the door to a few things and show you how we work from the inside out. So it was really cool. It's so cool. In fact, people can't see per se, but I'm pointing to Rocky. Is that right there is my little certificate from Robert Mueller. We know that name from recent fame, who gave me the certificate of graduation. So it was pretty cool.
Congratulations. Some fun stuff. So how does somebody get to do all of these things? I mean, you've interviewed Shark Tanks guys, you've interviewed Obama, you're here in India. Like, how does that all happen?
A few things come to mind. One, luck. Two, creating your own luck, which in that case, we can debate and have a philosophical discussion after the show. Maybe that's not luck if you create your own luck. I don't know. If I take 10 dice and put the number 10 on all of them and roll it and I get a 10, is that luck? I don't know. So, but luck, creating your own luck. And I think also, Rocky, then the aspect of who you are, who people pick. Not saying I'm anything, but maybe those are some things I was in that those particular activities, the powers that be saw something in me and said, we'll pick you. I think that's 3. And I think the 4th thing, Rocky, is always saying yes. I'm just a yes person. Us here today, I say yes pretty quick, always seeking opportunities to do some cool things. So I think those are 4 reasons why. But I think the putting yourself in position to make your own luck is probably the most important. This happened to me testifying to Congress. They weren't seeking me out, but I was on the phone that day when somebody couldn't show up in the scheduling. And they're like, well, they called me back and said, Ramon, we have an opening for small business experts. Could you testify to Congress? I'm like, let me think about it. Let me check my calendar. Yeah. So those are some of the ways I think it happened. Making your own quote unquote luck.
So how do you make your own luck?
Few ways I can do this. Let's take an example, not in my space, to make it uncomfortable and make it random. Let's pick Becky. She wants to be in the cover of Yarn magazine. I'm trying to make it really hard. I know nothing about yarn. I don't even know who Becky is, but riff with me here, Rocky, and you can correct me if I'm going off here. But so Becky wants to do that. And nobody knows Becky. She just started yarning, whatever they call yarning. So if this sounds corny, Rocky, you can bring me back. But what I'm trying to get at is that if Becky wants that, the more she's at the yarn events, the more she's commenting on yarn Facebook lives, the more she's there of service to the yarn magazine publishers and editors. You get where I'm going? The more she's in there and creates that, the more then people know her, and she'll hear about what their editorial is, and she has the greater opportunity to make herself a seat at the table. So that's how you make luck. That's how you focus on what do I want? How can I insert myself tangentially, 6 degrees of separation around that's happening? Now let me be of immense service. Don't be a jerk. Be a valuable person. I'm going to pull out here the book that really comes to mind also. Your readers may know it. The Like Switch, not my own book. I'm not promoting my stuff, but The Like Switch, a book by Jack Schaefer, a former FBI agent. And it talks about how to get in good with people. The point is. And so if that's helpful, Rocky, and maybe if I didn't say it clearly, you could help me with that. But you do that by knowing your goal, showing up, being nice, repeating, being of service, adding value. Eventually, Rocky, one day, you know what, this guy, Ramon? Wait a minute, I forgot his name. Who's this shaved head black guy with an orange sweater? Wait a minute. He brought me coffee, brought me pizza. Oh my God, he watched my kids. He was such valuable. I have an opening. You feel what I mean? That's how luck is made.
Show up and do the work.
Bob Burge, the go-giver, comes to mind, right?
Yes.
Yes.
And I think that's a big part of it. What I have found is people show up and do 3 things and then go, how come I'm not on the cover? And
yes,
it takes time.
Yes.
It takes a lot of time, and it takes a lot of effort, and it takes dedication to knowing what you want. And I think that's a big struggle. A lot of times people see something cool and they're like, I wish I could do that, but they're not willing to pay the price that's required to get that type of result.
You're right.
What have you found?
Yeah, I think you're right. I mean, you think of any athlete, special forces, anybody, any high degree of intensity, it's focus. LeBron, I think they said he threw 2 balls, I think, in his life before he became LeBron. I think he did 1. Then he threw a second one, and then Nike came and offered him $100 million contract when he was 2 years old. And he's been LeBron ever since. He just runs. Y'all know, those who are listening know I'm just teasing here. But no, you're right, Rocky. It's relentless. I've been in this space that I'm in, and I'm no famous Oprah, whatever. But in my little world, Rocky, I must say, I've carved a pretty darn good niche out of the large brands who market to very small businesses. They all know Ramon. Not saying they all hire me, but if you look at any big brand in the small business space, I've probably worked with just about every single one. And I'm pretty proud of that fact. Because going what you said, the consistency, you show up. There's a homeless guy. His name will come to mind. I go to church in New Jersey somewhere. And every time pretty much I come down the certain road I come down, he's on the left side with his little pan. I've given him probably, Rocky, hundreds of dollars over the last several years. Hundreds. He's there. What he's doing with it, I just don't care. He shows up and I'm like, you know what? God bless him and God bless America. Here's your money.
He shows up and he asks.
That's right.
And literally, it's funny. The homeless guy will show up and ask. How many of us will show up somewhere and say, hey, can I have this? And make that. And I think you talk a little bit about that, which is to think big, regardless of the fear, right? Uncertainty and doubt, which is what holds us all back, and kind of go for that and to be strategic in it. What do you think holds most people back from thinking big?
I think the fear of rejection. Our little example, even you and I, before we got on this, started serving your audience here, we had a discussion about some technicalities, I'll call it, of the podcast, right? You were open to listening. You were like, that's interesting, Ramon. Thank you. You could have said moron, no, and I would have been fine too, but you didn't. So my point is, yes, it's the ask, and I think it's the fear of rejection. I have a lot of problems, Rocky. I could be a better husband. I could be a better father. I'm not so good at numbers and math, things like that. So I have a lot of deficiencies. But one thing that God has blessed me with, I believe, is that I just don't get embarrassed too easily, and I don't care. I really don't. So for me, I think it's the fear that holds people back. And the example I'll give, I remember I was at CES, Computer Electronics Show, some years ago. I don't have the date, but back when Michael Dell of Dell Computer would have been speaking, back when the PCs were reigning, 20 years ago or 15, whatever it was. He was on stage. Rocky, I didn't know about bloggers, influencers, press rooms, media. I didn't know about that then. So this is Michael Dell. He's on stage and there's 100 gazillion people in the audience. So I figured just like church, it's over. You get up, go to the front of the room and shout out his name. And he'll come down the stairs and shake my hand. Silly me. Of course not. He looked down from the stage that looked, CES, that looked about 1,000 feet high, whatever it was. And he turned and walked away. I just didn't care. I didn't know. But it turned out months later, I worked with this team to host an event with Michael Dell. He was launching a small business line of computers. Point being, to your point, it's the fear, I think. The fear of rejection, the fear I may fail. Seth Godin has a book out called What to Do When It's Your Turn, and it's always your turn. People should check that out, What to Do When It's Your Turn. It talks about that, yeah, we all have natural fear. But, if I'm with Rocky and I don't say, Rocky, could I have a piece of chocolate? Whatever it is, what to do. My man, Rocky, my man. That's why I like you, man. Look at that, people. Rocky just showed a book up that he had there. Yeah, you're right. So Seth Godin. Oh, and you have the second book next to Seth, right next to that too. This is marketing there. Yeah. So my point being, I think that's the secret, Rocky, is that not that you don't have natural fear. You want to be respectful of people. You don't want to be an idiot. But I think it's the fear that definitely keeps people back from progressing, because most of the time people want to help you. Most of the time people want to serve you. Most of the time it's going to be a yes or to be done later. One more book I'll hold up. I know people in the podcast are there, but I'll just hold it up because I like to hold up stuff. Is shout out to my friend Alexandra Carter. Ask for more. She talks about this, and she says oftentimes that a no sometimes saves you from a bad yes. And that was powerful what she said, so hope that was helpful.
It was. I have a Seth Godin story. So Seth was coming to town. This is probably going back, 6 years ago. And Seth's not cheap, right? You're shaking your head.
He's not.
Tickets were $150 a piece to go see Seth speak. And my wife and I were going. I said to my daughter, would you like to go? She was 15, 16 in high school. She loves Seth's work. And so she's like, yes, I'd like to go. I go, well, here's the deal. You don't have $150. So if you will email Seth, I will buy your ticket. And she looks at me like, I said, just email Seth, tell him you love his work, and you'll be there next week to see him speak. And she's like, okay, I'll do it. Right. Thankfully, she didn't have to pick up the phone. Kids and phones these days. So she emailed Seth And within no time, she got a response that just basically said, hey, cool, love to see you there. She went to the book signing afterwards. And I think it might have, I don't know, it wasn't this book. I don't remember. We also have the real big book.
Yes, I have that too. Yes,
the
yes,
big,
that was probably, I don't know if that was it, but yes, the huge one, yes.
So she goes up and stands in line and says, hey, Seth, I'm Geeta, I emailed you. And Seth looks at her and goes, so you like volleyball? He Googled her. So, it taught her a couple lessons. Number one, if you don't ask, you won't get. Number two, it doesn't matter how big they are still people. And number three, keep your social media clean.
That is true. You never know who's searching. You never know.
And these days, I think everybody is searching everyone. Employers, especially these days, are searching. Or if you're in business, people are Googling your business. Whenever I look up a new company, the first thing I do is I Google their name and fraud or scam if I'm not sure, because I want to see what comes up and what people are saying.
No, you're absolutely right, Rocky. And I think that it's funny that if you don't have too much of a presence nowadays, depending on who you are, that's suspicious too, in a weird way. You know what I mean? It's make sure it's clean, but if nothing comes up, it's like, wait a minute, something's going on here.
Right. Who is this person? They must not have made an impact. And it is not hard to do that. I think it also depends on your name. Right. If your name is John Smith, you're going to have a little bit more difficulty. You'll have to play the SEO game a little bit harder than if you've got a name that's a little bit different. So
I wonder, does anybody on here have any names that are a little bit different? I wonder, is there any one person, not me, that has a name that's a bit unique? Just wondering. I don't know.
The funny thing about that is it bought me the first 10 pages of Google. So I was happy with it.
Yes.
It works. And most of it is other people talking about me. It's not me talking about me. So from that standpoint, it's good. So speaking of that, right, and maybe you can give me some feedback too. I want to be the celebrity CEO. I want to build my personal brand. And I want to say this to the listeners, because not every listener here thinks they're a CEO. And I beg to tell you, you're wrong. You are the CEO of your life. Run your life like your business. You run your finances like a business runs its finances. And regardless of what happens, you will have a wonderful life because you have been intentional and you've done it. So how do people build their personal brand?
It's a great question. Luckily, I wrote the book about it called Celebrity CEO. So there's a few things I would suggest. And first, why do we want to do this? Does this mean you can't have a corporate brand? Of course not. Corporate brands are great, whatever the brand may be, your corporate Inc. company. But I think that for many of us who are smaller companies, we ourselves, our face, our image, our persona, how we speak, how we act, how we do, how polite we are, smile, all that can be an asset, can directly influence our brands. So that's why you want to do it. So a few key principles I would tell people. One, the goal is to build a community of fans that you can nurture eventually to a sale. But first, you're not going for the sale. You just want people, as our, probably, John Jantz, right? Duct tape marketing, as our mutual friend says, to know, like, and trust you. So that's one. So you're building this community of fans. Largely, it's through education, things like you're doing, Rocky. Second thing I would say, the concept of, as I say often, ask for a smile before you ask for a sale. And we've talked a lot, like some of this is in the like switch and these other principles, the laws of attraction, whatever, these kind of things, just to get people. So that's one, that principle. And then really Ramon's playbook, in summary, like in seconds, is an overwhelming amount of great content to a particular audience. I'm not saying it's for everyone, Rocky, but for me, as you know, I post content on Facebook, on Instagram, on LinkedIn, on Clubhouse. I'm on Clubhouse, in fact, every day for 90 minutes, Monday to Friday at 7 a.m. I publish books. I have events. I do lives. Once you produce that amount of content for a particular niche, you will become well known. People may ask, Ramon, what about before there was social media? Well, same principle applies. Start producing regular events in your local town. I only say that because I've been on this journey for a while. So social media is relatively new, but now it enables anybody to educate an audience, to build a community. Then you can start to, as Gary Vaynerchuk has said, jab, 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 right hook is principle there of serving. Then they ask, And that's really how you do it. So does this mean that some people may say, Ramon, I already have a podcast. I already do this. Yeah. But I'm just saying, at least my playbook to be really, really well known in a particular niche, probably got to do 5 times, 10 times, 2 times more than you're already doing. And it may not be for everyone.
So how do you get the time to do that much? I mean, it seems overwhelming.
Sure. Well, if you go to ramonray.com/more time for $4.99, I have a little program, the pill you can buy, and it gives you more time. But for you, if you put the word Rocky into the link, no, I'm joking. Don't you hate that? Rocky's like, Ramon, are you taking my podcast somewhere else? He's like, wait a minute, I got to delete this. I wish though, Rocky, right? Go to ramonrocky.com and our affiliate link, and we can give you more time in your day. A late night television. But wait, there's more. But no, Rocky, it's hard. It's not easy, but I think I do it. It's part of my life. When I wake up in the morning on the way to read my Bible, hey, good morning, how are you? It's Tuesday. Post. As I'm doing something, I post. As something comes to mind, I post. And I must say, as you want to scale yourself, I have a team. So I have a social media manager, great shows and things like this that I can be of service to others. I will forward that to him and say, listen, I was on a show with Rocky. Take this content, share it with our community, tag Rocky, of course, uplift him, and let's share it. So that is really the way to do it. You can do it yourself, and there's some tools you can use to Buffer, Agorapulse, Keep, so many other tools you can use, CRM tools that you can connect and scale yourself. Like you can post to WordPress or using an RSS feed. I know you know what it is, but technically for those who don't, like a little communication thing, tickle thing, you can call it that, between websites. You can post to WordPress. Automatically, your system can then email people. When you post to WordPress, automatically then post to social media. So there's ways that you can be a little smarter with technology to help you do more than you'd have to do on your own.
Today's episode is sponsored by Profit Answer Man Podcast. Did you know that most small business owners hate looking at their financials? It's one reason they may struggle with business success. The Profit Answer Man podcast helps them ensure they are profitable and can pay their employees and weather the storms we all have to face. It's built on the Profit First methodology of pay yourself first. The Profit Answer Man podcast is a must listen to for every small business owner and anyone who wants to help them survive and thrive. Check it out on your favorite listening platform. It sounds like you're not fussing in the sense that you told me you get up and you just get right in front of the camera and you record something real quick. You're lucky you don't have to do your hair like some of us do. So it takes us a little longer,
I saw your hair routine, by the way. I saw your hair routine on YouTube. I saw you showing us.
But I think people make it more difficult than it really is. In today's world, authenticity and just basic stuff is all you need. You don't need a fancy camera. You don't need perfect lighting and perfect makeup and all of that stuff. People just want real and raw, much more so these days. And, if you think about most of these TV shows that are on, the real world shows, those people aren't exactly setting up for for
You're right. And there's a time for that, Rocky. I get polish and perfection and things done right, depending on the audience and who you are. I respect everybody's different. So those who are the perfectionists, I honor and I respect you. But to your point, yes, a little bit of imperfection and just getting it done is oftentimes better than waiting for it to be done perfectly.
And I think that's the biggest thing. Just get it done. Too often people are waiting for a million things to be perfect instead of, hey, put it out, fix it. And that is Microsoft, right? I mean, Microsoft has built that entire company about putting crap out and then fixing the bugs little by little. I mean, it's been 30 something years now, 35, 40 years. They finally got it down.
And now software companies are kind of doing that too, are they not? Software companies are kind of like, we throw it up and we'll iterate. Your version 2 is up. My iPad was just updated. My phone's always being updated, But, I realize that. Maybe it's hackers updating it. I'm not sure. I'll have to check that. But point is that, but you're even software companies, right? The lean startup, Eric Ries or whoever it is. So all these principles are there for sure.
They are. So part of this whole thing is essentially to create free publicity, right? Because everything you've talked about doesn't cost really money. It's just time. All these platforms don't essentially charge a fee or anything to get shown on. You get the ability to have your own TV channel for free.
And what you're doing is narrowing the trust index. I'm sure some smart person said that. Whoever I should credit, please, people Google right now, trust index. Ramon didn't make it up. So I'm just telling you, but it sounds like a freaking cool name. So you're narrowing the trust index of trust. So if Rocky over and over and over again, I will teach you how to make frog legs. Rocky, you're doing the best video on frog legs. You're doing that every day at 6 a.m. Man, you own the frog leg category, right? So my point is in that silly way. So Ramon, yeah, being in the small business space, that's all I've done for 20 plus years. That's my niche. I own it. Not there's not others, but I think that's for sure the consistency, just doing it, not letting fear keep you, and being really focused on who your core customers as well. That's really a core part of it as well. But publicity, I just wanted to echo that. It's getting the attention. Sorry, that's what I wanted to amplify, echo what you said. You said publicity, you're right. It's getting the attention after you build the fan base. Then you earn the right with the trust to convert a little of those people and say, hey, could you buy this from me?
And it's beyond just being a business owner, because I look at this like, hey, if you're a person who works, let's say, in software, and maybe you're an expert in implementing a certain kind of SaaS software type of platform, if you're constantly putting out content about how you solved a problem with it, how you went through their bugs, even though you don't work for that company, you start to become the expert in that particular niche. And I'm just giving you another example. I mean, it could be something as simple as, well, like I buy goat milk soap. One of my friends in our mastermind group actually makes it, but they're always out. They're teaching how to make goat milk.
What state are they in, by the way?
I think he's in Tennessee or.
Okay, go ahead. Continue. Okay.
He's down somewhere south.
Okay.
They don't.
A friend of mine makes goat milk, so I wasn't sure the same guy, but go ahead.
It's Jim Jonas, I think.
Yeah, that's my boy.
Yeah.
That's my buddy. Goat milk stuff. Everybody right now, go to goatmilkstuff.com and buy $5,000 of it. Tell him that Rocky and I sent you and that he should give us an affiliate check. I'm just joking, but no, seriously. Jim Jonas is the man. Oh, man. I buy his. I just stuff just came the other day from him. Nice.
But that's what he does, right? He's got like 10 kids. The whole family works in the business. And they're out showing what they do and how they do it. And like, they're like, go ahead and make it yourself. I look at that and go, 6 weeks to make a bar of soap. Here's $10.
Exactly.
You do it for me. You're the expert. I don't want to mess. And I see that in a multitude. But whether you're in corporate, small business, even if you're working for someone, you can do essentially the same thing. You give away all the information, and more often than not, people will say, you know what? Thank you for teaching me, but I don't want to do it. You do it for me. You even said that. You're in small business. You said, I don't like numbers, which means you're going to say to somebody, take care of my numbers. Right.
And I do.
And that works. And I think people are afraid to just give it all away.
No, they are. And I think that if you look at it, Rocky, I mean, think about in my case, car repair and all those kind of, I think there's last count, 10 trillion, 582 billion, 400 gazillion, 80 testapillion videos about car repair. By the way, those who didn't get Ramon's humor, I made all those numbers up, but about car repair. So there are tons of videos on how to change your own tires and brake pads and all kind of words I don't know. I watch those videos from time to time. Do I do that stuff myself? No. Could I learn it? Probably. Give it to an expert. So in the same way, those of you who are thinking, Ramon, people won't buy from me. Those who won't buy from you because you showed them how to do it, most of them won't buy from you anyhow. They won't anyhow. So understand that. So the more you share, you're building a community, you're building a tribe, you're building your trust, and people will buy from you.
I watched the video the other day on how to change my headlight. And then it magically started working, so I didn't have to. Usually, the only time I actually do it is when it tells me how to turn off the stupid oil change signal. Like, do this, hop on one foot, turn around, turn the key 3 times, drive backwards, and then it'll reset. And it's annoying, but eventually I figure it out. But that is YouTube is the place to learn. And so if there's something you want to learn how to do, Google it on or YouTube it, and you'll probably find out how easy it is to do with a little bit of practice.
That's right. Or you realize, hey, I don't want to do it.
Correct. And then you pay somebody, and that's okay too. And you know that the guy knows how to do it because he showed you how, right? Mm-hmm. So again, it goes back to trust. So how do we get from there to national media?
Great point. I think there's two ways you can do it. One, you can definitely, assuming you have a story, or assuming you are the expert, assuming you can speak in sound bites, you have credibility, and you have that whole package. That is necessary, that at least you have what it takes to earn the right to be on the media, or in a podcast for that matter, but national media. Then the game is access. So you can hire a PR firm, and you can waste your money, but there's many good PR firms you can hire that already have the relationship, already have the access, and they can pitch you to Good Morning America, whatever, you take your pick. That's one route. Or there's many databases you can get, going to the events of the host when they're at their openings, the like switch them, right? We talked about that. Connect with them and make your pitch, take your shot. So that is how it's done. I've been on several media and I've used all versions. I've pitched myself to media and I've been on media that way. I've hired PR firms and consultants and agencies to get me on media. So I've done them both. So it's definitely doable to do it. And I think the main thing you want to consider is why you're doing it. Is it just for fandom so that you can say, hey, Ramon was on TV? That could be something useful, and you use that to provide credibility to your customers. Or it could be because you do have some funnel. Hey, and by the way, thanks so much for having me. Don't forget our hair product. You go to thehairproduct.com and you're pitching it. They understand that. That's to build sales directly. That's one way, or something else. But I think, listen, Rocky, it's very doable. And there's some people, once they get in there and you're well-spoken and you have a good message, they'll call you on a regular basis to be featured in their programs. Absolutely.
So how does one create their story?
Well, there's two things. Either you're going to be the expert. That's what I find most people. I don't know you that well, Rocky, but for sure, Rocky and Ramon, we are the experts. We are going to comment on the news of the day. All things being equal, let's play this game. We're going to comment on the news of the day. There's some people, though, I woke up in the morning and I had, I was transparent body and I was floating. Yeah, you're going to be on CNN in the next 2 minutes for sure, because you're the story. You're Captain Sully. You landed the airplane, or something that goes closer to home. You're an accountant. And there's a stat you ran that 67% of businesses are going to fail because they're not doing their finances right. Could be something interesting during April time period to talk about. And you hit the right editor at the right time. I want to cover that story. So what I'm trying to say is either you already have the story because something so engaging, something so important or funny or interesting has happened to you that the news media you're pitching wants to feature you. So that's that. The story's within, or the story's already there, or you're already a part of it. And or many of us, small business consultants and coaches and experts, we're the expert. Hey, I have a book out. Valentine's Day's coming up. The best way to show love. Or, hey, I just released a study that's coming up. It's Christmas is coming up, blah, blah, blah. So is that helpful, Rocky? One of the two ways I usually tell people to do it.
It is. Well, I think a lot of people say, oh, I don't have a story. And then you start talking to them. We're like, you've got a story. I don't think you realize you have a story.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And so that was kind of part of the question is how do people figure out their story? And again, it's practice, right? You tell Correct. It, you figure out what resonates with people, and then you continue down that. And I think that's part of the thing. And I've even seen that with authors. Like we've had a lot of authors come on, and a lot of times they're surprised about what parts of the book resonate with people. And it's the parts that they struggle to release, right? I don't know if I should put this in, or I don't want to do this. Or it's just something that they just took for granted, right? So you talked about Profit First. Profit First was actually a chapter in another book. And it was that chapter that drew so much attention that Mike then wrote the actual book. But he didn't expect that. And I don't think him telling that story of what he went through was, but you don't know what's going to resonate with people until you keep putting stuff out there, trying and seeing what it's all about.
Yeah. And you're right. And to that point, just to be clear about that. And so I love what you said, in particular about the media, of course. Sometimes now I do want to, say the other side, those who are saying, oh, great, I have a story. If you got to think too much about your story, you should definitely, as Rocky just said, get practice, get experience before you go national media, because you only have one shot, one chance before you're X'd out of all the, the media company you're trying to get to. However, I must say, instead of everybody trying to go for national media, experiences like what I'm on with Rocky, podcast, where it's long form, a discussion and communication, That's the perfect place to be for many people. We overlook it. But being on a good podcast, man, that's beautiful. That's a great place to be.
Or start your own.
Yeah, or both. Absolutely. Yeah.
And these days I'm shocked at the number of podcasts that are out there. It's amazing how many different subjects. I mean, I stay in this space, and then when I go to Podcast Movement or, Podfest, and I'm like, there's all these other podcasts. I didn't realize that there are so many different genres and so many different things that people are talking about. Somewhere in there, there's something that your niche that people actually want to hear about. And I think that's a big change in the world. You go back 30 or 40 years ago, we all sat down at the same time on the same day to watch the same thing on TV.
That's right.
Today, nobody does that, right?
Yes. Barbershop or wherever it is. Hey, did you hear the news? I mean, unless it's major catastrophic news, well, listen, it's so sliced and diced, and yeah, you're right.
So everyone has the chance to be their media star and to do that.
Yeah, it's a powerful new world we're in, I think, where there's no excuse where every small business owner should not be a publisher, for sure.
So you work with a lot of small business owners, and it seems like COVID has somewhat caused the great resignation. At least that's what I'm hearing. I don't know how many new businesses are starting. I think a lot of them are on the smaller side, because if anyone's coming out of big corporate, the one thing I always hear is, I want to work, but I don't want to work with people. And it's more the politics, right? It's not I don't want to deal with all these issues and drama. I just want to get my work done and be able to serve and to help. What are you kind of seeing out there in the small business space? Are there that many companies actually coming out, people starting off, and what can they do to kind of fast track their way to success?
I think there's three things that are happening. And again, I'd be remiss if I try to quote the exact stat, but I think three things are happening. There's definitely those who've been laid off of their regular traditional jobs who are struggling. So my hat's off and my heart, those who are in dire situations. Included in that type of bucket, I think for sure there's the small businesses that are still struggling, still hugely in debt to the government or forgiveness or whatever, but they're still limping along. There's that category. There's then the middle category of those that are doing okay. They had some of the government money possibly, or they didn't need it. They're in the right position like I was, and my clients have continued to need my services. So there's that middle bucket that they're doing okay. And then there's those that are, Rocky, as you know, taken off. They started their next business, started their new business. They're in the right position at the right time. They're selling strawberry flavored PPE, personal protective equipment to people. Go figure. You know what I mean? They're in the right position. So I think it's still a mixed bag, and definitely depends on the industry. Many industries are hurting. If you're in the travel industry, it's tough. You're in the restaurant industry, it's tough. And then it depends on the state you're in. The southern states and et cetera, sadly, it's politics. They're open and many are thriving. People have talked about the example of Florida. It's not a political statement. It is what it is. You have New York. It's pretty restricted. I live in the Northeast. So depends on so many variables, but I think small businesses in general, they're resilient. We live in the greatest country on earth. For your international audience, you live in your great country too. Those are international. But as far as us in the USA, greatest country on earth with the biggest beacon of hope of opportunity.
It is. So for those people who are just starting out or wanting to make that leap, any advice for them?
Yeah, it's going to be harder than you think it is. So have a long runway. I was talking to the founder of Lovesac, a company, some people may know them, which have different modular type of couches and things of this nature. And he was saying, Ramon, the biggest thing, anybody could have a catastrophic thing happen and they'll be out of business. But the big determining factor is, how long is your runway? Assuming me and Rocky are both smart people. We're both relatively decent guys, and neither of us are idiots, and we're doing our best. Rocky has a $1 million and 2 years for his business. I got $1 in 1 day. He's gonna win. I just didn't, I don't have enough time and runway to make mistakes, figure it out, and get customers. Rocky does. So I think that's one of the things I would encourage those just starting out. How much runway do you have? And a lot of that runway is, how much money do you have? And then the assets and resources available to you to maximize that runway, the network that you have, the potential customers that you have, the resources you have available to you.
So I usually tell people for a business, you need 3 years of runway. to get yourself to a good, strong foundation.
I like it.
And figure out how are you going to pay your bills for the next 3 years? Because if you're 6 months into this and you had a 6-month runway and things are not going well, you're going to be desperate. And desperation does not sell. And everything will take twice as long as you think it will. And your friends and family will only buy once, if at all.
Right.
And I think that's the biggest mistake. You know, they go to their friends. Oh, yeah, that's a great business idea, until you ask them for money. And then they're like, no, thank you.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's getting that struggle of getting through theirs. But if you can survive for 3 years, you've got a good chance of success, assuming you're showing up, doing the work, doing everything else. And sometimes you can do it much faster. It really depends on what resources you have to begin with. So if you're walking out of corporate and the place you're walking out wants to hire you as a consultant, you know, they just gave you your runway. It's a little bit easier. You just have to sit down and look at what works for you and figure out how to do that and how to figure it out. Speaking of all of this, you have this tagline on your website, and I'd like to ask you what it means. It says, "Stop chasing the sale, chase the smile."
That goes back to that aspect of ask for a smile before you ask for a sale. The aspect of sometimes we focus so much on the money, that we forget to breathe, to pause and just be nice. Just be a nice person, just to connect to people, just to make the relationships, then focus on the money. But if you can't smile, can't be nice, can't make people feel loved and trusted and empathetic and that you care about their needs, sales can be really hard to come by, if not impossible.
And that's very true. You know, I think the simplest example of that is what happens on LinkedIn. You know, somebody makes a connection to me and I make a connection, and the moment I click connect, you know, I'm starting to get these messengers telling me how they want me to buy their stuff or do all these things. I'm like, can we go on a date first?
Exactly.
Can you say hi? How are you? How's the weather?
That's right. Anything but sell me. Say something.
It gets annoying. And because of that, I'm less likely to connect with people today. You know, I will look at what their profile says, and sometimes it's red flag. Especially on Facebook. If it says Bitcoin, I don't even respond.
Or Forex.
Forex, yeah, same thing. But it's amazing how they just don't take the time to do that. And then the same thing happens in the business world. And it's the same thing when you're looking for a job. You know, if you're desperate or you're constantly asking, then it's too late. Build your relationships, build your networks, do everything well in advance of need by, as you said before, give, jab, jab, jab. Then when you finally do have an ask, you have built the trust. They know you, they like you, they're willing to support you. And again, it comes back, right? So everything kind of goes together. It comes back to the beginning of the conversation with money. Money compounds. But it takes time. It's not going to happen tonight, tomorrow, or a year. You've got to put those deposits in, and little by little over time, you will achieve success.
Absolutely. No question about it.
Is there anything else we should have talked about or something you'd like to share today that we didn't get a chance to?
I think the only thing, Rocky, is just to tell your one, thanks to you, Rocky, for having me. 2, thanks to your audience for listening. And I hope there's some value here. And I think 3, listen, life is hard. Life is not easy. It's not easy. You know, no matter who you are, it's not easy. I think 2, running a business is challenging. It's challenging, but understand why you're doing it. Many of us are doing, Rocky, as you know, the freedom to just chart our own course, the freedom to fail, the freedom to do what we want. So enjoy that journey. And I think if you haven't told somebody you love them, haven't told somebody you appreciated them, haven't told somebody that they matter, try to do that before you go to bed tonight. Whatever time tonight is, maybe when you're listening to this, but try to make somebody else feel special and uplift them.
And so I was about to ask you, what is something we can do this week, an action step to move forward? Is that it, or do you have something else?
That would be it. But since you asked me, I can give something else. One action step I can do is to it's similar to what I just said, but to express gratitude with a thank you card. Who in your life can you think of that needs to be shown appreciation with a thank you card? And I'll give a bonus one. Facebook and other platforms show people who are close to you their birthdays. I don't do this for everyone because I don't have the time. But can you take one or two people and find out where they have a birthday announcement and just press the button on the Facebook or whatever it is and say, happy birthday. That makes people feel special.
It doesn't take long to do that. It takes all of about 30 seconds. As a matter of fact, I have a habit of doing that every morning.
That is cool. You're a good person, Rocky. I like that. That's a good habit to have.
Facebook tells me. I don't have to look or think. It just comes up and says, hey, here are all the people you know. Some days it's 1, some days it's 8, you know. And you just kind of go through and
I use the voice button. I just hit the connect, you know, because you can type it. But I use the voice of happy birthday to you. That's it. Done. I'm gone.
Oh, very nice. Is it translated or it sends your actual voice?
No, my voice, meaning it's just you're just saying it to them, you know. Yeah.
I didn't know you could record voice messages on Facebook. Maybe you can.
Yeah.
I don't pay attention to all those things. It's time to learn the secrets of life. What's your secret to living an abundant life?
My morning routine is pretty darn tight. And I give this credit to a gentleman by the name of Glenn Lundy, who introduced me to it more. But morning routine of prayer, Bible reading, exercise, bottle of water, apple, and a fruit and an orange. And so I have a pretty solid morning routine. I think that helps me.
How long does it usually take you?
Not long, 30 minutes, give or take. Could be a little longer.
So you're pretty condensed.
Yeah.
Some people are longer. I know I'm much longer. But
each to his own.
Each to your own. Figure out what works for you for your morning, right?
Correct.
What did you learn later in life that you wish you would have learned sooner?
Definitely, as I've said, I definitely will give credit again to Profit First about money. I wish I'd learned that. That's transformed my whole life. I think even though I've been married almost 30 years, I have 1 or 2 years to go. I think I'm still learning how to be a better husband and a better father, even though I have 2 adult children. So I think I wish I could reverse it and be better back then, but I'd be wishing something else and I'd be deficient somewhere else. But probably just how to be a better human, more empathetic. Oh, and if I may say a third thing, I've been only recently in the past year into the personal development space and more cognizant of who I am. And it's not done to me, done for me. Who loses if I don't win? Things like that. Let me be more, let me slow down. Rocky's angry. I know it's not personal. Somebody just jabbed him in the foot with a knife. Let him stop screaming. He's not yelling at me. That kind of thing.
That almost sounds like a Tony Robbins thing. If you were to give an 18-year-old one specific piece of wisdom, what would it be?
Do not assume that you're right. Assume that you're wrong, or slow down, that there's something you can learn before you start making excuses for why you're so right.
Most 18-year-olds are right. You know that. They know it all.
Absolutely.
If people would like to learn more about you, connect, listen to you on Clubhouse, what's the best way for them to find you?
Sure. And again, everybody, thanks for listening. Rocky, thanks for having me. But RamonRay.com, RamonRay.com. They can connect with me, see what I do, and et cetera. SmartHustle.com. Be great to have people visit us there and see the knowledge we have about small business. Any typos, it's all my fault. Anything that's perfect, it's my team's.
Cool. And I will make sure that we put those into the show notes so that people can find you. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Rocky, thanks for having me. You're a light in the world. Thank you, my friend.
Are you ready to be the CEO of your life? Where do you need to lead yourself? If you keep showing up and giving, you too can be the go-to person in whatever area you want to be the go-to person in. It's really simple, but it takes work. And that's the reality of it. You just have to keep showing up. I'm going to ask, are you building a brand for yourself? It could be for a job or for other goals. Figure out who you want to be and what you want to be known for. And then be that person and let the world know. I know people who have landed dream jobs because they did this. And don't forget, we need to create our own luck. This week's action step was to express gratitude with a thank you card and also to say happy birthday to people. I make both of those part of my routine. I handwrite thank you cards. I have a stack right next to my desk with stamps, envelopes, everything is ready to go. So I've taken all the friction out of it. And Facebook tells me when everybody's birthday is. So it's easy to take a moment and just say happy birthday. And people will appreciate you for that. Next week, we have on Erica Anderson to talk about how we bring about change. Because let's face it, for a lot of people, change is hard. She lays out a plan to make it easy. By the way, if you enjoyed this episode, would you share it with a friend? I'd appreciate it. Thanks for listening. Have an abundant week.